Catherine Herridge is here with us. So first, just your reaction to the president's announcement tonight.
Well, I think it's a very significant announcement, not only what he said, but the fact that they are releasing these documents so that we can really fact check the claims we heard this evening. I've been digging into the documents already, and I found this November 2020 email. And it specifically states, it's a conversation among intelligence officials. It specifically states that they have, quote, deliberately massaged one of our pending PDBs, that's the president's daily brief, to avoid any direct links to the election. And that is consistent with my reporting. I understand the whistleblower complaint alleged, and I think we're now seeing it in the emails, that there was an intentional effort to suppress intelligence about China's influence operations. And this was, Katie, like a massive effort, what they call a multi-domain operation. That means trade, it means diplomacy, it means open source information, it means social media. So all the levers of power China had to influence the U.S. elections.
In your reporting, you've said that a senior intelligence official emphasized to you that in 2020, China was not held to the same standard as Russia and other adversaries, including North Korea, Iran, and proxies like Hezbollah, and that the Chinese influence operations were consistently downplayed while Russia's were routinely amplified. You also talked about this whistleblower who was reportedly retaliated against for trying to bring this information to light.
So in the summer of 2020, as we're heading into the election, in the intelligence community, there were indicators of this Chinese influence operation. Influence operations means that you're trying to affect the outcome of how people vote or their sentiment about a presidential candidate. It's different than an interference operation, which is penetrating voting rolls and voter systems. And this whistleblower was raising the alarm about the influence operation, and then suddenly it all was suppressed. My understanding is that some of their reports, there were in officials' own handwriting that they wanted everything out that could help President Trump in his re-election. So there was clear evidence of political and personal bias, and intelligence is supposed to be neutral. So what we heard tonight from the president is an allegation that this intelligence was suppressed in order to harm him, and now we're seeing documents already which back up those claims.
So based on what he said tonight, it seems to me there are two scandals. The first is what China has been doing with their influence operation, taking 220 million voter registration rolls or data, rather, to try and influence the American people in their elections. But also the scandal that this information about our election system and adversaries trying to do this to the American people was suppressed by the intelligence agencies, the deep state, so to speak.
One of the things that I think is important for people to understand, and I think you're going right to that point, is just the scope of the information we're talking about. So 220 million voter rolls. China is one of the biggest collectors of data on the planet. So if you take that 220 million voter rolls and you combine it with something called the SF-86, those are the security clearance applications that were compromised back in 2015, 22 million files. And then you combine it with all of the health information that's been hacked, you can really build this kind of digital composite of an individual. And you can use that for, voter registration fraud. You can use that for identity theft. And significantly, you can also use it to recruit American citizens to your efforts. So it's not just about the collection of the data around the vote. Exactly.
Right.
That's
yeah.
Exactly
I mean,
right.
These documents show, that the information that they were looking at included first, middle, and last names, dates of birth, telephone numbers, historical voting records, home mailing addresses, military affiliation, political party affiliation, getting as much information as possible about the American voter. You just outlined why China would maybe want to do that, but some people are saying that this information is already public. So what's the problem with China doing this?
Well, it's not all of it is public. I mean, what we heard tonight, and I think this is fair, is that this voter registration data can be bought, sold, or hacked. And what the president suggested tonight is that all three were utilized in order to collect 220 million U.S. voter rolls. I think the larger question is why, if there was such a threat from this influence operation on a scale much more significant than Russia, Iran, and North Korea, why was it suppressed? And his position is that it was suppressed for political reasons. And just as a final point, when you think back to 2020, that sort of 2016 to 2020, it was always about Russia. My reporting is that inside the intelligence community, everything about Russia was being amplified. It was described as Russian election interference. That means, from an intelligence point of view, that they were compromising the systems. My reporting is that it was actually more of an influence operation, and it was significantly smaller than what the Chinese were executing.
So based on your reporting and the differences tonight, President Trump did say that intelligence chiefs, including the CIA director and the leader of DNI, have reviewed and approved the release of these documents, which is a big difference between what you have reported, which is the suppression of this information by the intelligence agencies and heads previously not to get this information to the president.
I think one of the great things, I always say that I like documents more than people because documents don't spin. They kind of speak for themselves. I think one of the great developments tonight is that people can look at these records for themselves. It's hard work. It's, slow going sometimes, but you can. I just found an email right here which talks about massaging the president's daily brief. I mean, that is the kind of thing that should never happen in the U.S. intelligence community. And I was struck, Katie, by the fact that the president seemed restrained. What he said is that our election security, our election systems are very poor. I was going to use another word, but I won't.
Yeah, he said they're failing catastrophically.
Correct.
And they're vulnerable.
That's right.
Yeah.
And but what he didn't say, or what he didn't make the emphasis, was what it meant for the results in 2020. He said we have a bad system.
Yeah.
We're the democracy the world looks to. We have to do better.
Well, and what does the future hold? I mean,
Correct.
we have a midterm election coming up. We have presidential elections every 4 years. Elections are a big part of the functioning of our country. So, Catherine, stay right there. We'll let you pour over some more of these documents.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.